So if you have your shirt, and did you press it? I hope it's not like mine, that's a bit of a mess like this. All pressed and ready? Good. Okay, so just a quick point that I want you to have. When you're upcycling something, it's always good not to have any fixed ideas, because the fixed ideas limit your possibilities. They don't allow you to express yourself, and don't allow you to have the freedom to just make that mistake and find it being a happy mistake, basically. So I want you to give yourself that chance to kind of explore. And that's what we're going to do. So today I'm not going to be very strict. I'm going to be going to just let you just kind of find your way into this. So if you have your shirt, get this part of your shirt, the collar, and look at the point where the collar meets the collar stand. So that's the part that you want to save this, but cut this away. So what we're aiming for, I'll just give you an idea what I want to go for. It's this. It looks very complicated, but it isn't. So this was a long sleeved shirt, and everything on here I have just pinned or just lightly stitched on. So I'm going to strip everything away, and then I'm going to show you. So this was a long sleeved shirt, and I deliberately haven't pressed this so you can see that it's just been hand sewn together like that. But the point we're getting to now is taking the collar off the shirt. Okay, so so this is what the collar was like, but I've cut it off the shirt, and that's what we're aiming to do. So the collar was attached there on the shirt, there. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. With this, I'm using this white shirt so you can all see what I'm doing. So you take your scissors. I'm going to turn and then you cut along there. Do you see where I'm cutting? I'm cutting in between the collar stand and the collar itself, right there. The idea is you make sure that you don't cut, you cut right at the join there, so that you have that seam, you have the stitching right there, protecting, you know, the collar stand, so that it doesn't start coming apart. And that's really important that you get that right. So you go all the way down the collar, just carefully cutting away like that. Just be very careful not to cut away too much. Good. So now what you then do is you then have, I'm going to quickly take this off so that I can show you what I have done to my collar stand, and that leaves a clean finish. And you know, for just basic beginnings, this is something that you can actually wear like that, because it works like that. The next thing we're going to do is cut the sleeve off, cut the long sleeve into a short sleeve. Now the idea of this is you decide how long you want the sleeve to be. So I decided to cut it quite a long way down the sleeve, so if you can see that. So this is what I took off the sleeve, that part there. So you decide how long you want this sleeve to be. So you might want it to be something that is not too, you know, coming into your elbow there. You might want it to be halfway down your arm, between your arm and your elbow, I mean your upper arm and elbow. So if you want it longer, then you go below that. So you decide how long you want it. I don't want to dictate, because you're going to wear this. So decide where you want to cut it. If you need to take a tape measure and measure it, you do that. So if you work out, take your tape measure like that, hold it against your neck like this, and then take it over your shoulder like that. Take it to the point that you want it to where your sleeve needs to end. If I decide that I want it to end there, which is halfway between my shoulder and my elbow, that's where I take it. And I have 12 inches. So you take the 12 inches, you place that just below your collar there, collar stand, and then take it to 12 inches, which is there, and then you cut the sleeve off. That. So lay it flat on the table, and I'll show you how. So you take your tape measure. So I have it on the collar stand there, and then I'm taking it down the shoulder onto the sleeve, and 12 inches is here. So create space for yourself there. If you have any sewing pins, this is the best time to use them. So you put one there to mark the point 12. So you need to leave enough room for seam allowance. So usually seam allowance is about 1 centimeter. So you use your, sorry, that was 12 inches, by the way. I work in inches. So in centimeters, it would be 31. So if you work in centimeters, do use the other side of the tape measure, which is 31 centimeters. I used 12 inches. So I'll go back to centimeters now. And then I will say at 31 there, you need to add an extra 2 centimeters, which makes it 33. So you put another pin in the 33 mark there. And then what you then do is you measure from the end of the sleeve, which would be, if this was my sleeve still attached to the shirt, it would be there. But if you have a short sleeve, like I have a short sleeve now, you measure from the end of the sleeve there. So you measure that distance from the pin with the seam allowance on to the end of the sleeve, which is 18 centimeters there. And then you mark that on the bottom end of the sleeve. So right there, on the other side of the sleeve. So that's 18 centimeters from there to there. Good. Okay, so then this is the time you take your scissors and you cut right across there. If you don't trust yourself to do this all in one, take a ruler and use chalk. If you have chalk, if you don't have chalk, don't worry, just use a pencil. And then you mark all the way down there so that you have a clean line to cut your sleeve off. And that will be your new hem there. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut down the sleeve. So you just take your scissors like that and you cut all the way down to the other point where your pin is. Right, so now that's completed. So we've done the one side of the shirt, right? One sleeve. So to make the other one exactly the same, you take your shirt, fold it over, place the side that you've already cut on top of the other sleeve, and mark the space. Just make sure that you've got all the points connected properly there. Okay. So then you can then use this if you want to be more comfortable in making sure that you haven't cut it wrong. Just put a pin there to make sure that your sleeve is secure and ready to cut the second sleeve to be exactly the same as your first one, like this. Then take your scissors and cut this down too. So you're cutting this down to be exactly the same as the other one, like that. There we are. So we have cut off the sleeves from the shirt now. So we have short sleeves. Now, if you look at your shirt now, it is already looking transformed, right? So this is a basic, it's a very basic transformation. You still haven't lost the fact that it's a shirt, but it's a different kind of shirt to the one you had before. The long sleeves are gone. You now have short sleeves. And now we're going to get to the point where we look at finishing off our sleeve. So you take your end of the sleeve that you've cut off, the bottom of, and then you get your pins and you start folding like this. You fold 1 centimeter in. If you need to make sure, you just check that it's a centimeter, and then again, so you fold it twice. So it's once in and again. That's why we saved 2 centimeters for this, because the hem is a double folded, double turn hem. So we take a pin and mark this as our starting point. Then we go to the other end and do exactly the same. So that's one end, this is the other end. So you fold the sleeve 1 centimeter once and then again a centimeter in, like that. And then you take a pin and secure that point there as well. So we then start folding and pinning to connect from one end to the other. There, like that. If you have a sewing machine, you can do this on the sewing machine. All of this can be done by hand. And then there again, folded, pinned, stitched like that. And then again, like this. So you end up with something like this, just pinned in place like that. And so that means that when you do your hand sewing, you start in the underarm, which is there, the underarm there, that part there, that's where you start. And you go all along there to the other side. So you pin that side, go to the other side and do the same. Use the same technique. First in the underarm, fold and pin in place like that. And then to the other side of the sleeve, you do the same. What this helps is that it will give you an idea when you're folding in the middle to join the points together. It will make it easier for you to get from one point to the other without losing or needing to use your tape measure. So when you fold it like this, you can see that it's guiding you there. So you can just grip that, and that allows you to put your pin in place like that. So pin there, secure that, and again, like that. And then again, on the other side, fold it like this, bring it in like that, and pin it together. So join this side to the other side as well. And if it's not easy to fold, don't worry, because once the pin is in place and secures it, it makes it easier for you to do the hand sewing. To make it even better, if you are not very confident, you can actually use your iron to press it down to make sure that it's easy and won't be moving around. But just make sure you don't overpress it, because sometimes when you do that, you might need to change something. And if it's been overpressed, it's not easy to adjust to what you need it to be. I'm going to use black thread so you can actually see what I'm doing. So you secure the end of your thread to make sure that it's not going to just slip through your stitching. And then you take your needle like this, and then you start in the underarm, because then you have a seam there to kind of help you secure this so it doesn't keep and ruffling when you wear it and wash it. So you start there, and you can be, you can be rough with this because it's the underarm and it's not going to show and it's hidden, but you need to make sure that this is secure. See, mine is not tied properly and it's just coming undone. So let's just secure this. Okay, so I'll start again. So here we go. So there, and you go twice at the bottom. And then what you try and do is you go to the top, the folded part, and you go through with your needle like that. And what is very basic language, so that it's easy for everyone to understand who doesn't have any sewing. Sewing, understanding of sewing. So what you do then is you go to the bottom part there, under my pin there, and you pick up just a single thread if you can, or two, and then you come up to the top and you pick up a good amount there, because that needs to be secured. That's the part you need securing. And then you go over like that. You pull your needle through. And you go back again there. And then you go forward. So as you pick up one single thread from the bottom, you move your needle forward like that. And you pick up at the top there, like that. So you pick up like that. Now this can take quite a long time, but the idea is practice. And I won't do the whole thing, but that's the idea is you pick up one single thread or two from the bottom, and then you move forward and pick up the top fabric there, just like that. So if I turn this over, what you see, a very minimal little dotted like this. You can hardly see anything. I went a bit wild there, but you can be a bit more careful. But the idea is that it can be done. And if it's not neat and tidy, if the color of the cotton you're using is exactly the same as the fabric, it won't be showing at all. But I'm using black here just so you can see what I'm doing. So don't fret about it. The idea is when you practice and do this more, it becomes very easy. So you can do a hem on anything, trousers, skirts, anything. So the next thing I want you to do now is I want you to take your shirt, and I'm going to take away what I put on this shirt as decorative buttons. So we're going to try and adjust this up a little bit. And what I did was add these buttons to this shirt. These are not the buttons, the big buttons there were not with this shirt when I started this whole thing. I put them on there. You can take buttons off anything. I have crazy, colored buttons, like this here and that there, and you can do all kinds of things, but the idea is to have this idea that you can add things to this and make this your own, make it your own idea. So all I did was get to the middle. I'll take this off, take this button off, and I'll show you what I did. So this is what I had. And this is another thing, is to learn how to take buttons off a shirt. To be very careful when you're cutting buttons off is you go under the button like that and you cut away, but just make sure that you're not cutting the fabric itself. So that's another thing that we'll have to come to grips with, is cutting away buttons. But all I'm taking away are the buttons that I put on there as decoration. So I had my shirt like this when I was done with it. So one of the things, I was lucky that this shirt already had some gray, dark gray buttons on there. But if you have a shirt like this one here, that's got white buttons on, then you can actually take the white buttons off and replace them with a black button, and immediately this white shirt is transformed. Good. So it's the freedom to do whatever you want to do, because this is your creation. This is you're making this yours. You're making it something that you're going to be quite happy to wear and show off, so you can put your stamp on it. And that's the idea. So you take, what I did was keep those buttons on like that. So those buttons work. And then I've taken some big random buttons that I have, not too heavy, and they're all upcycled buttons. I've taken them off other things that I've had here in the house, because I'm working at home and I have no access to things at my studio. So I'm just using what I've found here at home. So then I take the largest button, which is this one here, and I place it on the top here. So this is the top end of my button, my collar there, my collar stand, and which is my new collar now. And I've taken the largest button, this one, and I've placed it there. So you mark that place with chalk or pen. So I mark it like that. So that's going to be my button there. And then the next size, the largest is this one here, it goes there. The next size goes there. So I decided to use from the largest button to the smallest button to make kind of like a design that kind of was pleasing to me at the point when I decided to do this. So do you see that? So your buttons go from large to small, and they're in between the buttons on the shirt that will be the functioning buttons. So these buttons stay because I need them to be able to wear this shirt. But what I want you to do for me is I want you to be able to carry on with this and complete this. So this is one idea of an upcycle. I think the next time will be easier because we'll be much more, relaxed into doing what we're doing. And next week we shall be working on other ideas, and I can share with you some of these ideas now. We'll be working on something like this next week. So if you have your, shirt ready, I'll give you choices. So we can make a twin set, or we can make just upcycle another shirt, or a twin set like this for next week. Okay, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your staying with us today, and I hope you learned something, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.